Hello and welcome to another Captain Total Waffle episode on the Berlin side of the realm. Well, we are certainly here in Berlingrad, where apparently a ring has been found. This is actually of some consternation, because I am pretty sure that our dear Berlin has way too many bits and things in his retinue to actually receive such a thing. So, it seems to me inevitable that we must have support flown in. Okay, so where from can we get it? I think the best option should be Killy, but you know, he's already the Lord of Gundabad. He's got 6, 8, yeah, and 8 is the maximum of traits that he can get. So, what can we do then? Well, we can send Drarin over from the Tash. Problem being, he then needs replacement. That's good enough for now. Mount Graham holds, and while we probably can't leave it with the army we have in there, we need to keep them there. That is also okay, because we do have forces coming up from the south in order to effect changes, as it were. Like that. They're basically moving around Dunedain lands in order to get to the Angmarim. The Angmarim have been left unchecked for far too long. And it ends here. And, oh, speaking of which, we've also arrived at Keloniach. Angmar have tried to take it. The Dwarves have come. And now, we come. Not like that. Stop grinning, everybody. Stop grinning. We're just slaughtering some bandits, okay? Yeah, thank you very much. Now, before we get to this battle, we should discuss, apropos of battle, Rings of Power episode, whatever it was, 7? Jesus Christ, a clusterfuck of a thing. I don't even know where to begin. Once upon a time, I thought that one of the main problems of the series was a lack of focus on its main storyline, which should be, you know, the creation of the rings and the relationship between dwarves and elves and Sauron in the guise of Anatar. And now that we have a full episode focusing on nothing but that, it falls apart harder than anything previously on display. It is really quite staggering just how ineptly this is executed on so many levels. The technical, the storytelling, the characters, the timeline, the physics on display. Just basic bloody physics of how water works. So many things. And we're going to get into a little bit of it. But today's episode will be a short one, so expect that it won't be the only one. We will have to be discussing that episode 7 for a while. Anyway, Thrar, attack Yorthon, and then at the same time, we shall put our emotions into the world. Join me, my friend. We have a lot to get through. Attack. Welcome to Keloniach, everybody. We have a battery of catapults. I think that should be the term we should use. And they have towers. We'll see how we can do about it. Some might say that going in the auto-resolve mode would actually be superior to this, but, you know, a battle is a fun time for discussions, I find. So, we are going to put all the lovely doors we have in lovely lines and lovely places, and then it'll be all about smacking open those gates. Let's go. So, I have notes. I have like 2 pages of notes of things about the Rings of Power episode 7. Jesus crispy crusp. Where to start? We have stuff about world building where it just falls apart on its face. That's actually the primary source of notes I have. It's that it just becomes ever more painfully apparent that the showrunners are not really capable of building the world that they intend to build. And many of the things that are on display go against what should be there. Then there is like piss poor consistency within the show itself, highlighted by this episode and its decisions in certain parts where it. And some of these things might just be environmental strokes of bad luck on filming day, you know, rays of light shining through on orcs that shouldn't be able to handle them, all these things. But as it happens, it is all noteworthy because it's immersion breaking. It brings into question the very foundations of the lore and how things work in this universe. Anyway, we'll get to that. Then there are the physics questions. There are the character questions. There is the writing, the atrophied dialogue. It is... Okay, now we have broken down the gate, and I can start giving an overview of the situation. Well, as soon as we get through that gate, these sellswords are going to rush at us. So, we're going to send in the hammer guard. We're also going to... Are we going to move closer with the catapults? Good question. Maybe not. We have so much range in this army, though. Ah, okay. So, hammer guard moving? Yeah, they are. Okay. Rest of you guys. Come up here. Thrar, come here. Okay. So, where do I start? Well, we might as well start with moving our catapults forward a little bit. Let's talk about Celebrimbor. So far, we've complained about him seeming rather thick, essentially. Being unable to deduce the fact that this Anatar figure is clearly trying to trick him into doing something that he failed to complete under the leadership of another, or under the guidance of another mysterious figure that looked suspiciously like him. Yeah. Doesn't look good on his resume as a spy catcher for sure. But anyway, regardless of his failure to intercept infiltrations into Eregion, now we have to face the fact that the showrunners wanted to give him... basically turn this into a thriller? This is even echoed in interviews they made. This is weird. This is bloody weird. The word thriller and Tolkien... I mean, just seems utterly daft. But, I suppose we should just try to look on the bright side of it and see how they go about it. Well, how do they go about it then? Well, let me say it like this. When you are... Okay. If you are the most renowned blacksmith of Middle-earth, and somebody puts your hands in chains to lock you in a tower, do you, A, and you have actually some tools around you because you're in a workshop, right? Okay, do you, A, try to find something with which to break your chains, given the fact that you are a metal worker of the greatest renown, or, ouch, or do you, B, use those very same tools to cut off your bloody thumb? Well, I suppose it only gets bloody after the fact, but you know what I mean. Well, this show posits that this master smith of the elves simply cannot comprehend of a way to break that chain without breaking his own bloody thumb. And so he proceeds to basically swipe it off with a metal cutting tool. This is just one of the many, many baffling things, baffling leaps of logic that the viewer must endure whilst ostensibly enjoying a little trip to Middle-earth. So leaving aside the bloody tone problem that this invariably gives the series, I mean, this is meant to be escapism, and here we have a smith trying to escape a tricky situation by cutting off his own limbs. You know, if Tolkien were rolling any harder in his grave, he would produce seismic activity unlike anything the British Isles have ever seen. But, yeah, that is just the state of things. Okay. Let's make room for a little bit of praise, because there is some decent production design on display. It does seem to me that they very much wanted to make Eregion turn into Minas Tirith. The walls are white in the same way, you know, it's very, very Minas Tirith-y. And they frame so many of the siege shots in the same way. Yeah, so that's a little bit bothersome, but generally speaking, the production design is good. And what else? It's interesting and pretty fun to see an elven army on horseback. We will get back to this elven army later, because it is not only a point of praise but also gripes. But, you know, we see an elven army on horseback. We don't see them fight on horseback, which ties into the bad stuff. But anyway, yeah. There is an elven army coming to face off against an orcish army led by Adar, which of course, I mean, that whole dynamic is completely fictional, and basically they wanted a siege that could wreck Eregion, but they didn't really have time to do the whole world building over centuries to give Anatar the time to actually make the rings in accordance with the timeline dispute in the Legendarium. Apparently that was just a no-go. Okay. But anyway, decent production design, like that. But then, what else? Well, I like some of the creativity on display in terms of how the battle is fought. However, decent ideas must be executed well in order to work, and generally speaking, it is not a very good battle scene at all. Cause and effects are murky at best. Aerial views are scarce. You basically don't have the sense of scale and scope. Everything is brought down into close-ups quite a lot, focusing on individuals rather than units, and it makes the whole thing a little tiresome to try to piece together as a viewer, and that is not good. So it betrays a lack of skill in putting big battles to screen. Peter Jackson did this very, very well. There are so many shots of Minas Tirith. Every time you cut back to the Battle of Minas Tirith, for instance, you basically cut back into an aerial shot that tells you, this is where we are, these are the armies, this is what's happening, defenders on walls, orcs on the plains, and oh, look, there are Rohirrim over there. We see a big aerial shot that shows all of the Rohirrim in one shot. You know, everything is very clear, almost pedestrianly laid out, but it is what you will want to do. Because these battles are big, they require a lot to set up, they require a lot to understand and get into, so you need to give us a lot, dear filmmakers, you really do. Okay, so what else? Well, yeah, it's interesting to see elves fight. We haven't done a lot of that in the Legendarium, and it was a chance to show elves fight at their best. But of course, this was basically flunked. Let's get into that a little bit. Some decent military talk now that we are dealing with a military situation in the game as well. It stands to reason. So, do you see what these people are doing? They are in formation, and they don't really break those formations. There's a bit of running, and it's really hard to maintain formations while running. But this is just to show formations in battle. They are basically everything. If your unit loses its formation, then it loses ground very quickly. You can be forgiven for not putting orcs into tight formations and tight ranks when it comes to just demonstrating their prowess or lack thereof on screen. That's fine. We want to portray them as more chaotic, less leadable, if you will. You know, less militarily adept than their elven counterparts. This is totally fair, so that the elves can shine even more and demonstrate their ability as a military faction in Middle-earth, basically. But the show does not show elven prowess on display. Well, it sort of shows it in little glimpses. They line up at the very beginning when they're charging toward Adar's forces. But then Adar shows them a Galadriel in a cage, and this results in the elven cavalry slowing to a complete stop in the matter of 2 seconds. And okay, gripe number 1, major military gripe number 1. You cannot stop a cavalry charge in 2 seconds, pretty much no matter what you do. That trying to do that will result in like an accordion-style clash of horses and elves going flying into each other's backs. It is just not realistic. There's basically nothing in this world that can make me accept that scene as it is. It is completely ludicrous. You can't even stop a car that has dedicated brakes. Try stopping a charging horse! I mean, they can stop fairly quickly, but then getting the person behind you to stop on the same command. No, this does not happen without an invisible hand guiding every single elf on the field, which I find to be highly questionable, since a big portion of the whole Tolkien thing is the notion of free will, particularly in the Jackson version of it all, which is what they have used for inspiration, more than anything else. So point of the story, no. Free-thinking elves will not do it like that. Simply won't. And then we come to the tactical part. Because apparently, yeah, okay, they stop their horses, and the elves then decide to have a little bit of a negotiation moment with Adar. This is fine, I appreciate that. It's an interesting, I mean, they make up this whole Adar character, whole cloth, but the fundamental principle of exploring him a bit more, I like. Adding something and exploring why you do so, that is welcome. You want to be explaining your characters, Amazon. You want to do that. So, a little gold star for us getting a little bit of insight into his plan, his thinking, and his reaction to Elrond and his leadership. Yeah. The problems then arise when Elrond goes out of the tent again. There's a little moment between him and Galadriel. We'll get into that when it comes to character inconsistency and strange world-building decisions. But for now, we're talking military stuff. So Elrond goes back out to his troops, presumably, and they proceed to attack the orcs. The next moment we see is them just fighting in a big bloody blob of chaos well outside city walls, basically trying to break through the orc encampment or something. Now, this is severely unsatisfying because you've just shown us cavalry riding in line, rank and file, like cavalry should do, and the next moment you basically cut to an all-out brawl where people on horseback are riding, basically trotting along, trying to hit individual orcs with swords. And of course, I know why they did this. They did not have the scale of people on horseback to actually portray a charge very well. So they didn't. Or maybe they tried to, but it ended up looking, well, like 20 people on horseback charging into, you know, a few dozen extras in prosthetic costumes. This is, of course, deeply regrettable. Because if anything, we really needed to see elves. And if you have to put this display on screen, please do so competently. Let us see the elves do what they do best. That's sort of the money shot you're going for, isn't it? It's not just to have elves there, it's to help them have the elves do things on screen that would befit what they do. But no, that is not what's done. And it's so frustrating that you just assume that, yeah, we don't just, you know, the military-minded person would just go, yeah, we're going to take these elven battalions on horseback that we have, and we're going to ride around the enemy and try to sort of find the weak point, and then we're going to charge right into them as they're trying to batter down the wall and essentially rout the army. Right? Try to do that with the cavalry and the enemy will just have very little to respond with. But that's not what happens. That's not what they do. At least that's not what they show, and so we have to assume that something has gone terribly wrong, but we didn't see it go terribly wrong. So the most meaningful point in the battle, where the tide could have been turned, the very pivotal point, is just left completely on the cutting room floor if it has ever been attempted filmed at all. This is bollocks. It really just is. And I find it impossible to fathom that with a $500 million budget per season, that they could not scrounge together a decent battle scene that actually shows a cavalry charge. Surely they would be able to. I mean, even if just for a few moments, right? Even if it were just a few cuts, a few shots of it, akin to what we saw of like Elrond's armies at the Battle of the Dagorlad against Sauron in the prologue of The Lord of the Rings, right? You see an elven army just working in concert and in unison and with military precision in the way that you would expect an elven army to act. But we don't get that. Instead, we get 20 dudes at any one time, just flailing around with their arms and mighty swords as if they're doing jujitsu. And it's really frustrating. Because it makes the elves seem like an uncoordinated bunch of action figures as opposed to an army. And the strength of an army is in working together as, well, an army should. As a unit. That's what it means. United. Unit. They work together. So, that was military gripe number 1. Let's end the turn and see what 149 does to the Friends of Dain. Turn 149 comes along and Koloniak gets an Axesmith's Guild. Congratulations, lads. Now you can do weapon upgrades. And the Merchant's Guild wants to trade with Harad. Well, I wanted to take over Ethring with me. Okay. Well, let's go trade with Harad.
There is something you wish to speak of? I accept discussions. Of course, sir.
Okay. 300 gold. Boom, boom, boom. Jesus. Okay. So, going back to a little bit of Rings of Power talk. Shall we simply talk about other issues of physics that just make zero sense? Yes, I think we should. So we've dealt with horses just being completely unable to stop like portrayed in the film. That's one issue of physics that I have. Now, another few things come down to environmental physics, and not environmental physics in the terms of a game. No. Although, to be fair, the sequence I'm about to describe does very much feel like something you would do in a video game as opposed to real life. So, Adar's army has a bunch of trebuchets, right? They use them to pummel the walls and buildings of Eregion into submission. Fair game. You know, that's what those things tend to do best. Just fire and brimstone and destruction hailing down upon your foes. That's where they shine. Problem being? Can you guess? Oh, unless you've seen the episode, I don't think you can. So, here's the thing. Eregion is situated right next to the side of a mountain. Right? Okay. So far, so good. No problems there. Well, here's where the problems come in. Adar gets the brilliantly big-brained move of trying to shoot rocks at the mountain until it falls down. Okay, why does he do that, you might ask? I'll tell you. Because there's a river running around Eregion. It is absolutely feasible for a settlement to be constructed by a river, and if we are to take... I mean, probably this is not really an accurate depiction of where Eregion actually is. Maybe it should be around here or something. You know, a little bit closer to Kazad-Dûm essentially, but still... Here, just around sort of this river, which is it the Bruinen River? I forget my Middle-earth rivers. Anyway, there is a river right here, and there's a mountain here, and they have Eregion itself somewhere around here. And they aim their trebuchets at the mountain to make rocks fall into the river to make it dry up, and then allow the orcs to cross and attack the walls directly without facing the moat that the river more or less created around Eregion. Oh dear, do I have problems with this. I mean, I was sitting with my girlfriend. She actually lives in a mountain region. Well, she comes from a mountain region. She now lives in Copenhagen. Very much not a mountain region. Sorry. But she comes from Piedmont. In the Alps. She has a mountain river running straight through her hometown. She can tell you, as well as any person, that this is complete bananas. Because rivers, yes, consist mainly of downflow, from downflowing water coming off of mountain tops that goes down, you know, snow melting on the peaks and everything, and then, but also rainfall that gets channeled through the fauna of the place, and it basically runs into the river and runs down. But you don't just you know, if you dam that river, it doesn't dry up in 20 fucking minutes, which is what is implied in the show. It is pretty hard to swallow when you just look at it. You just behold it and automatically go, that's not how anything works. I wish I was kidding. I really do. But that is the great plan of Adar that they present. It's just, he just fires trebuchets upon the mountain to make rocks fall. Very questionable tactic. I don't think throwing a few rocks at a mountain is going to cause a whole, like, lavine, just an avalanche of rocks to go straight into the river. And then having those rocks block the river, that's an engineering job in and of itself. Probably not going to happen by itself. But even if it does completely block the flow of water, the river water is going to last for quite a while. It's not going to just dry up unless used up, basically. Especially because Eregion is on a flat plain, mostly. Which means that the water will probably stay there quite a while. Ah! My brain hurts. Rings of Power is destroying my brain, and we haven't even started yet. We've gone through Celebrimbor ripping off his own thumb to get out of a piece of metal. The greatest blacksmith in Middle-earth ripping off his own limbs instead of working with metal.
Aye, Lord.
Freaking Christ. And
March no further today.
okay. So, let's talk about something a bit more charitable before launching into more criticism of shall we just call it, Amazon's world building.
Something to investigate.
How do I begin?
Honor, my lord.
Okay, I think I know how. I generally speaking like where they were going with a lot of the ideas that they were bringing to the table with the orcs. They're trying to portray them before Sauron really got them in his grasp via the power of the One Ring. That's interesting. Yes, I like that idea. Cool. Now, this is done basically by portraying them as inertly cowardly, basically, which is not in itself completely unfair. It's a pretty fair assessment, I would say. Now, at the same time, they also have to act as killing machines once they are in battle, which is a little weird, you know, because especially when you consider this, one of the humanizing elements they gave to the orcs was families. In one of the earlier episodes of the show, you actually bloody see an orc with an orc wife and an orc baby. Now, this firmly puts the show on the footing of arguing that orcs reproduce sexually. And it's not that I will completely dispute that, although, I mean, I'm sure that there will be 4chan forums that will take that and run with it into some very fascinating territory. But let's just consider the implication that they seemingly have a family dynamic very much familiar to that of, shall we say, their perceived main viewing ship, which would be, like, American viewers, right? With fathers and mothers caring for their young equally and nurturing them in a way that seems befitting of humanity in the eyes of, say, yeah, you American families. Now, leaving aside the anthropological blunder of the fact that not every culture on Earth, even, you know, human cultures, you know, raise their children in the exact same way, they basically make the weird implication that the orcs are basically just human beings with worse looks. They just need a better PR department, and then they could be accepted into society, perhaps. Who knows? That's a bit weird, because then you will expect us to cheer at elves shooting them like they are essentially clay pigeons later on from the walls of Eregion. This seems you know, and we're not expected to care about these fellows, apparently, that are laying down their lives for Adar's ambition. Yeah, it's a bit weird. I think they could have given the orcs nuances in ways that did not just give them American family man type cultural coding. And they should have tried a little harder to give them something that may have taken a few more seconds to establish than a single camera shot, but still could convey, well, just something that would set them apart from the cultures with which we are meant to naturally empathize. So yeah, world building there, not exactly top notch, I'm afraid. What would you expect, you might say? Well, a bit better, really. That's all. Let's have a look at Colonia. Yeah, we're basically fine over here. I don't think we'll be able to retrain any of the troops over here, but we will try. Getting a way station would definitely be a good choice. Goodbye, Flacial. Schmackety schmackety schmooder. Oh, I forgot to build a tower. But that one will help. Okay. Let's grab another turn. Do we have an army coming over here anytime soon? Not at present, no. But we are getting Dol Amroth up to speed, and that is great to see. Let's stay on the topic of world building for a little bit and discuss how magic works in this universe. Because typically in the Legendarium, magic is actually a pretty verbal affair. An example given to how magic can be utilized is Gandalf's word of command, for instance. He might, which can be used to affect change in Middle-earth on a physical level. It can be exhausting to do, but it's something that is done verbally. This is the crucial bit. Or magic can be channeled further through instruments. This could be weapons like swords, or it could be things like a wizard's staff, without which they would actually not be able to wield as much power in the physical world as otherwise. Okay, so with that established, basically, you know, your verbal magic happening with your words, basically, and you have more physical damage, like the fireball of Saruman or stuff like that, which happens through channeling through a staff. And what do we see here? Well, we don't really have any wizards on display, and let's not talk about Tom Bombadil, although he's very much also sort of in the verbal category, at least in the books, because he basically sings everything out. You know, just, you know, a song and a dance, that's all you need, apparently, when you're Tom Bombadil, at least. Now, what does Sauron do? Because he performs some tricks in this show, shall we say. I'm keeping you in suspense right now. If you've guessed it already, then, you know, do you think he relies on A, an implement, like, you know, the physical manifestation of things, or on his words as the B category? The answer is neither. Apparently, it's C. He turns into a freaking Jedi from Star Wars. He waves around his hands as if he's mind-tricking people. Now, the idea of Sauron being able to affect people's minds is very welcome, because that is one of his core talents. Though usually in the Legendarium, he tends to be a little bit more subtly He doesn't necessarily just take over someone's mind directly, but he might use a sleight of hand, he might use his rhetoric, he might use all sorts of tricks caused by magic to deceive people into achieving the end you want, that he would like to achieve. Problem here being, when you know, world building is a precious thing. It's a thing that is hard to pull off, because you basically need a great degree of internal consistency to the things that happen inside your world for people to actually care about it. Because if they can't see a consistent logic behind things, supernatural things that happen in a fantasy realm, then inevitably they will simply tune out, because apparently anything goes. And then there is no stakes, as is apparent to the viewer at least. Because if anything can happen, then, I mean, why should I care about any of it? And here we simply see Sauron willing magic into existence via the power of waving his hand.
My king. Aye, sire.
Not too great. It is basically a scenario that I find detestable.
Aye, sire.
But anyway, if we are to accept that he does this,
An honor, my lord.
just, you know,
March.
yeah,
My king.
so what? He waves his hand around and magic happens.
Aye, lord.
Aye, noble sire. We march.
Then fair enough. We can move on to other things. But it's something that really bugs me. So what else do we have, you might ask? Well, we have other filmmaking tropes. Despite aside from the Star Wars force powers of Sauron, we seem to have the dwarves knowing about the existence of the Balrog, or at least a beast deep in Kazad-Dûm. Well, okay, the show did establish Durin Jr., so to speak, the prince, and point of view dwarf of the series, as having a sense that something was happening, and he witnessed an actual apparition down in the depths of Kazad-Dûm, and it rattled him so that he became a bit of an environmentalist and decided that no, we should never be digging in the way that we have been, because, or at least recklessly, we shouldn't be digging recklessly, because this might actually bring about something pretty bad. I feel it. Is the implication.
Honor, my lord.
Right.
Aye, noble sire. In your name.
Aye. Combining the army.
But then,
Aye, sire.
when
Aye,
the
lord.
fates of the elves basically hangs in a balance,
Aye. Forward.
Honor, my lord.
he of course wants to march,
Tonight, sire.
because he wants to help out his lovely friend Elrond, and we want to help him too. Hooray.
My king.
But then his pal, Master of the Diggers, I forget his name, basically comes over and says, hi, yeah, we have a big problem. The king wants us to dig further, and you have to stop him right now, because if you don't, he will dig, and he will awaken
We march
that
no farther
thing
today.
down there. And that
Aye, lord.
is so weird,
Combining
because
the
that
armies, sire.
tells us that the dwarves actually have a mutual understanding of the existence of what is the Balrog,
Aye, lord.
effectively.
Bringing the men together.
And while you can charitably argue that
That'll
the Balrog in itself might not be what they're referring to. They're more referring to the existence of something deep below.
Aye, king. Forward. Aye, sir.
This hardly seems like the kind of stuff you would turn an entire campaign around.
Onward.
It's
We
just
march no rank high.
so weird to see characters reacting so forcefully and so decisively on the threat of something that they don't understand, which Durin has seen for a total of 10 seconds of his life, and on the basis of the vague warning of unsettling that, the action that follows is basically, yeah, we're going to not come to the aid of our dear friends, even though we have basically made an agreement to do so. Oh, sucks to be me. Woe is me.
Aye.
I just don't like that.
Aye,
It's because, I mean, it makes sense to us, the audience, because we know there's a Balrog down there, and we know what a Balrog is. We know what it's capable of, that it is a deeply dangerous entity that can absolutely wreak devastation on the entire dwarven civilization. But the dwarves don't know this. They don't have this foreknowledge. They don't know what it is. They don't know how powerful it is. They don't even know whether it will actually come about. It is all in the realm of the most incalculable speculation.
Aye. Forward.
And so because of that, it just, the moment falls flat for me, because I try to get into the headspace of the dwarves as the characters they are, acting within the bounds of their own knowledge, and the show doesn't allow me to, because it wants me to interpret their actions based on what I know, not what the characters know. This is bloody annoying, to put it mildly. It is really, really, really just not good enough. Oh, which one was it again?
Good day to you.
Ah, it was Bregos. Ah, okay.
Aye, sir.
You forget one thing and it just turns everything around. Anyway. Yeah, it's Bregos that we want to take. By diplomatic means, of course. Just a little aside. Yeah. Jesus McChristmas. It is hard for me to stomach just how much of this episode makes zero bloody sense. From an internal logic perspective, the consistency of storytelling is absent at best, and often completely counteracted at worst. I have no words. I have no words. But at least we have another turn that we can do. Bombers on through.
Men have marched down.
The men have marched their limit. And that's okay. We can live with that. So, let's have another turn. Allow my nerves to cool down a little bit, and we'll see how we get on with turn 151. Oh, hello, Mordor. You decide to attack my little fort garrison with a huge army. Well, great. I look forward to outlasting you.
We must stand with courage.
Oh, and you too at Colonia.
Lay siege.
You are too kind. I will deliver death upon you. It shall be a great triumph. So, Dorwinion is doing pretty badly. Oh dear. Well, we have to take Ethering, they say. And now that Mordor is just moving their armies into places where we can easily defeat them, this becomes very, very realistic. Alright then. Well, first of all, let's see if we can...
Shall hear you out.
Okay, we can do a ceasefire.
Expect much.
For... Are you ready for this? Ethering Yes. I know it's very demanding, but here's what I will give you. 12,500. And trade rights? Nah, okay, you probably need more than that. Okay, we'll up it to 25,000. Boom.
No, we will not
Yeah,
accept
okay,
such a thing.
deal.
A fair deal. Goodbye.
Right. Actually, that brewery. No. It's fine. That is the amount of time it should take, I guess. Okay.
Aye, my
Then we send troops in there. The Morthand Vale has fallen. Cannonbell is down. Elrond is now the capital of Gondor, but we have effectively cut Mordor off from supporting it. This should offer a little bit of consolation. And I am under no illusion that this peace will hold. I mean, come on. We know who we're dealing with here.
Aye, sire. My king.
So we will quite simply take a bunch of these troops.
Aye, lord. My king. Aye, sire.
And of course Groin. And send them to Ithering. Oh, Groin couldn't go apparently. Okay. Can you go back? Yes, you can. Boom, 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 boom. Everything is good and fine and dandy. Right. So far, so good. Let's get a feast hall in Tarnest. It'll be lovely. We have 2 spies in here. With the buildings available. Oh, there's an army barracks. That's great. Yeah. We'll just start building armorers after this. Very good. And Ethering, of course, you'll get your spy. Is there something in here we can just do away with? Nah. I guess we're good with all of it. We could do away with the stables, but nah. It's fine to have it. It's a little legacy of Gondor, if nothing else. The One Ring has been found! We have acquired the Great Ring of Power. And here's the good news. I mean, with our realm being what it is, and us now being at peace with Mordor, we could feasibly just walk it straight there. Oh, hello, Isengard. Strengthen the defences of Caras Balindon. We require catapults on the double.
My king. March. We march no further today.
Catapults on the double, he says. Catapults on the double he shall receive.
My king. Aye. Forward. That'll do him today, sire.
That'll do him today. And Darim,
honor, my lord.
you can go to Kazad-Dûm West. Sit for a little while. Gain some administrative points. I look forward to fighting this army. They bring snow trolls. Excellent. The more the merrier. Saduri gets to be upgraded. Yes, very good. Speaking of which, we have a general here. He can hire a longship. Hehehehe. Look at this. Hello, Ivor.
We'll be important to engage the enemy.
We'll be important to engage the enemy. Alright.
Aye, noble sire.
What else? Loniston? Yeah, you're doing great upgrades here. And Framsburg with your mining complex. Good to see, good to see. Ooh, catapult. Yes, give it to me. Londangren. Your army barracks will stand you in excellent stead. Siduri with your miners union. It's good to see. And We should probably get the next level of that as well, but we'll need to build the mining complex out first. Archer range for Erebor. They are still neutral, but they may attack us, who knows? It's hard to say. Now, how are the mines here? They're pretty good, and they can get even better. We just need to repair the Mason's Guild House first. Mount Graham's Pub will become a feast hall, and all shall join in the celebratory feasts upon its creation. I think I'm done discussing Rings of Power for today, but not for good. There are so many things that we should be getting into,
Yes,
and we will.
at your service. On my way.
For now, though, we also need to get into Angsul, which we will try again next turn.
Honor, my lord.
Or actually, no.
Marching now. By your will, sire, we shall engage.
So, in here sits Fiorel, and Avanazir comes to help. This is a good battle. We will want to take it on, but we are not going to do it this turn. But it's going to be fun to do so. It's also a fun battle map. You know, it's a fun castle map, and I think it's still intact. I think it's a permanent stronghold now, so that it has very distinct features.
You, my enemy. It will be an honor.
Oh, hello, Yonan. Yeah. And Horsa.
Aye, sire. Aye. Joining aye, lord.
And
Lending armies, sire.
Bifur's army marches upon Morvatar.
Making camp here.
It shall be a glorious day when they arrive. And Elrond just keeps sitting there. We're allies, so yeah, he can, and he's allied to the Dunedain, obviously. So yeah, he can.
March.
But I suppose that will be all. We'll train whatever catapults we can. Ooh, haha, Kazad-Dûm reclaimers.
I came.
Very nice. Very good. A dwarven catapult to Caras Balrog,
Forward.
I think. We want all the catapults on the double,
Move out. Aye,
on the
sire.
double, on the triple, on the flabble, on the fibble.
We march no further today.
But I hope you've enjoyed this little episode, this little rant, this little adventure that we continue to have in Middle-earth, which is currently unfolding. It is lovely. And I will be continuing this campaign a little while, for at the very least, I want to finish the Rings of Power and have that coincide with the ending of this campaign. We have basically completed our domination objectives already. And by the time we're done with this, we'll probably have done it twice over. How nice. I look forward to that. We also have Daram. Daram will set sail. Kaboom pum pum.
Aye, Captain.
And then Buford.
Aye, Captain.
Buford the second. Yeah, dwarves don't like water, but they do realize what strategic import it has, regardless. So I suppose they might go to Mithrast. Or maybe they should go and help kick out the enemy at Calambel. Only time will Calambel tell. Maybe Captain General Borlivian will actually take it, with the aid of Dinenion and his Anphalas pikemen. Regardless of exactly what comes to bear, though, I hope you will be there to enjoy it with me, because now I will bid you farewell. So click links on the screen or below. Get to know your fellow commenters down there. Be kind to yourself, be good to those you love, and then I'll see you soon.